So in this video we are going to start the part 2, that is the diagnosis of infections. So if you want to diagnose the infection in the mother, then we need to do antibody testing. So for antibody testing mainly we use IgM and IgG. So if IgM is present, then you can say the infection is recent infection, and if IgG is present, then the infection is past infection, because IgM forms very rapidly after the infection, whereas IgG forms after 6 months after infection. So by this we can say if the IgM is present in the mother antibody, then you can say it is recent infection. If IgG, past infection. Now coming to avidity testing. So what is this avidity testing? Here what we do is, especially we take IgG values. If the IgG values are low, then you will say it is a recent infection, and if IgG values are high, then you will say it's a past infection. Okay, so as we discussed just now that IgG takes a lot of time to produce. So already if there is large amount of IgG, then it's a very old infection. If there is low amount of IgG, then it's a recent infection. So past infection will be at least 2 months ago. Okay, so when IgG is greater at least 2 months ago, then it will be a past infection. Now coming to diagnosis in fetus. So in fetus, what we say, in the case of cytomegalovirus, we do NA80 of amniotic fluid, and next we will do USG. And in the case of rubella, we will do PCR of amniotic fluid and followed by USG. Same for toxoplasma, also you do PCR of amniotic fluid and followed by USG, that is ultrasonography. Okay, so this is how you diagnose in fetus. So in mother you will check IgM, IgG. In IgG you will see if IgG is low, recent. If IgG is high, past, that is at least 2 months ago the infection has occurred. In the case of diagnosis, fetus diagnosis, you will use NAT, amniotic fluid, for CMU, CMV, that is cytomegalovirus. In the case of rubella and toxoplasma, we do the PCR of amniotic fluid and next followed by USG. Now coming to management of rubella and toxoplasm. So how you manage? Coming to rubella, you are going to manage it, especially the congenital rubella syndrome is an indication for MTP. So you will do medical termination of pregnancy. In the case of congenital rubella syndrome, it is very severe. So you can give MMR vaccine, that is measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. It should be given to all pregnant, non-pregnant female who didn't receive in childhood. Okay, so this MMR vaccination should be avoided 1 month. If someone takes MMR vaccination, then for the next 1 month the female should not become pregnant, because this vaccination contains live attenuated vaccine. Okay, so if this just in case female becomes pregnant after MMR vaccination within 1 month, then it is not an indication to do MTP, that is medical termination of pregnancy. Okay, so by chance if the female is pregnant after MMR, that is the measles, mumps and rubella vaccination, within 1 month, then there is no indication of MTP. Now coming to toxoplasma. In the case of toxoplasma treatment in early pregnancy, first if there is maternal infection, we give drug of choice as spiromycin. So spiromycin is drug of choice for toxoplasma, especially in maternal infection, because the spiromycin will not cross the placenta, so no problem to fetus. But if there is any fetal infection, then you need to immediately terminate the pregnancy, that is medical termination of pregnancy. We advise this if there is fetal infection. If sometimes a female is getting toxoplasma like about 18 weeks, after 18 weeks of pregnancy, then by this time even the toxoplasma may enter the fetus, right? So now we need to give a drug which should go even to the fetus. That means it should even cross the placenta, right? So here the drug we use after 18 weeks is pyrimethamine plus sulfadiazine plus folinic acid. So this is a combination of these three drugs, that is pyrimethamine, sulfadiazine, folinic acid. Three together are given because they can cross the placenta and they also treat fetal infection. Now coming to parvovirus B19. So parvo B19, actually parvo is a DNA virus. Okay, it is mainly going to happen in a woman who is working in close relation with children or like in daycare centers. Actually here the problem is erythroblast precursors. Actually this virus is an erythroblast. Okay, so there is erythroblast precursor and this is causing fifth disease. What is this fifth disease? This fifth disease is also called as erythema infectiosum. Erythema infectiosum. Actually in this disease what happens is, especially it is seen in children. Okay, at pregnant female you can get infected by this when she is working with school age children, daycare workers. Okay, so actually in this disease there is a slapped cheek appearance, like the cheek, for example, this is a face, this is a nose here. Okay, here the cheek on the sides, two sides like this, you will have some red marks. That is called as erythema infectiosum. Okay, slapped cheek appearance. It spares the bridge of the nose. On the sides of the nose you will not have, only especially on the cheeks you will see red marks. Okay, and on the trunk you see lacy pattern, a red rash, that is called as reticular rash. So these both rashes are especially particular in the case of this parvovirus B19. Okay, and next coming to symptoms. What are the symptoms you see in pregnant female with this virus? The symptoms are like, you will have fever, flu, slapped cheek, already we said, lacy pattern, and polyarthalgia, and you have polyhydramnios. This is important. So polyarthalgia, polyhydramnios is also present, and there is a chance of vertical transmission to the fetus. So in that case we need to do abortion. Maximum chances before 24 weeks. Already we know abortion is before 20 weeks, right? Even in this case also before 20 weeks. And there may be also stillbirth because of this and parvovirus B19, and there may be non-immune hydrops fetalis, but only 1%. Okay, there is hydrops fetalis and fetal anemia. So all these are seen especially in parvovirus infection. So increase fetal urine output leading to increase polyhydramnios, right? When fetal urine will increase, especially in the case of you take fetal anemia. When fetal anemia, there are low red blood cells, so fetus will try to produce more RBCs. So in that case, it will lead to more urine output and it will lead to polyhydramnios. So what is the most common infection causing hydrops? It is of course parvovirus. Okay. So parvovirus, most common cause of, what is it? Hydrops fetalis. Okay. Next, coming to chances of hydrops are maximum if mother acquires infection between 13 to 16 weeks. So 13 to 16 weeks if mother have this parvo infection, then there is a higher chance of hydrops. Okay, and this period also coincide with hepatic hematopoiesis. Next, maternal infection. Within 10 weeks hydrops fetalis may develop. Okay, so in this 10 weeks, after every 2 weeks, we need to do targeted USG, and also we should do middle cerebral artery, Doppler. Okay, that is velocimetry. Look for hydrops fetalis, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, placentomegaly, and you will see there is increased peak systolic velocity in the middle cerebral artery that is greater than or equal to 1.5 mom. We know this, already we discussed. So there is significant anemia. So whenever you get these values, you can clearly understand it is a significant anemia. So this is the thing which you see here. So if hydrops fetalis is positive, then immediately do chordosynthesis. So hydrops fetalis positive, you will do chordosynthesis. Okay, after chordosynthesis you will see that the reticulocyte count. Okay, you will check out the reticulocyte count, you will do complete blood test, and you will do parvovirus B19 PCR especially. Okay, and do IUT if needed. Do IUT means intrauterine transfusions if needed. In case of polyhydramnios or heart failure in a patient, always suspect whether it's parvo B19 or RH isoimmunization. Okay, so now let us discuss about varicella zoster. This is the last topic today in this video. So varicella zoster, if a pregnant woman comes in contact with a patient of chickenpox. So varicella zoster is nothing but chickenpox. Okay, So someone is having chickenpox, if the pregnant mother will go and touch her, or droplet infection, it will lead to chickenpox now in this uh, mother. Okay, so if previously had chickenpox, no need of varicella zoster like in childhood if she have. But if she is not sure that, or she may have forgotten that she may don't not have chickenpox, or if she doesn't have any past history of chickenpox, then immediately we need to give that BZ immunoglobulin vaccine within 96 hours. So within 96 hours of exposure to varicella zoster to a pregnant female, we need to give our varicella zoster immunoglobulin within 96 hours. And also you can give it till 10 days. You can also give it till 10 days. Okay. And now coming to symptoms. So what symptoms you will see here in chickenpox? You will have fever, and the important things is vesicles. You will have vesicles over red base. So there are like some vesicles with red base. Especially you will see in the trunk area. You know about chickenpox, right? And also pleomorphic rash. These are called as pleomorphic rash. And if a pregnant woman has varicella zoster infection within 20 weeks of pregnancy, so within 20 weeks of pregnancy, if this female is having varicella zoster, then the drug of choice will be acyclovir. Okay, acyclovir. And congenital varicella syndrome. Congenital varicella syndrome is most common between 13 to 20 weeks of pregnancy. Okay, and congenital varicella syndrome is an indication for MTP. So it's an indication for medical termination of pregnancy, and the diagnosis is cutaneous scars, limb deformity, or limb atrophy. So these are the features you see in diagnosis in the case of varicella zoster. So now coming to other features, the other features will be like microcephaly, cerebral, cortical, brain, hydronephrosis, and chorioretinitis. So these are the different symptoms which we see in varicella zoster. And if mother acquires infection, so if mother acquires infection 5 days after delivery, or 2 days after delivery, what we need to do? So after delivery, if the mother is getting varicella zoster, then it is called as neonatal varicella syndrome. So what is neonatal varicella syndrome? It is where there is disseminated vascular rash is seen in a fetus now. Okay, disseminated vascular rash, and pneumonitis, and hepatitis, and may also have high mortality rate. And next, in all newborns whose mothers, if the mothers have HVZ5, then 5 days before and 2 days after delivery, then we need to give VZ immunoglobulin again. So even after 96 hours we give if mother is having, and even after delivery still if mother is having this varicella zoster, then we will give again immunoglobulin either 5 days before or 2 days after delivery. So by this we completed about this varicella zoster. Next we'll start with malaria in pregnancy and HIV in pregnancy.